Hello Thistle fans, and a warm welcome to another of our Life Under Lockdown chats with former Thistle players who are very popular in the eyes of the Firhill faithful. The man I've got with me today is Mr. David Elliot, who spent two spells with the club, full season in 1990-91 and then returned for a brief spell in 99-2000, both times under Mr. John Lambie. Welcome, David.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
An absolute pleasure. I look forward to hearing your own memories of life at Thistle. But first of all, how are things at the moment? How are you and your loved ones under?
Yeah, all fine, and that's what it is. It's looking after your family and your loved ones, and as long as the ones close to you are healthy and getting on with it, then fine. There's a lot of people worse off than us, as we're probably aware, but we're doing fine. We're doing fine. We're getting by, same as everybody else, just one day at a time.
Good stuff. Good. Well, let's take a big leap back 30 years, which is a scary thought.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
2020 to 1990. You're not one of a number of players at that point who came to Thistle from the east end of the city. Talk us through joining the club and how that came about.
Well, it actually started pre-season at Celtic Park, and I'd been there as a young boy. I'd been through the whole system of the boys' club since I was 13 years old. So it was actually a huge decision for me at the time. There was another few options, and I know another couple of clubs were looking into me. But as soon as I spoke to John Lambie and Jerry Collins, I thought, that's the place I wanted to be. Tommy Burns at the time, God rest him, he had a wee blether with me at the time. I know he was pally with Big Jerry. So the wee chat with him about going to Thistle, and it kind of all was a wee bit surreal at the time. As I say, I was with Celtic for so long, and I remember going to Firhill one night and meeting John and Jerry in a porter cabin of all places. I don't know what was going on at the time. I don't know, and I remember the floodlights were going up kind of as I got there. So I don't know if it was something to do with the reconstruction of that, but I remember meeting John in a porter cabin of all places, and you know what, it doesn't take you long before you kind of start liking John Lambie, and from that moment on, I thought, right, this is the place for me. Let's go for it.
Brilliant. We'll come on to John in a second, but just as you mentioned Tommy Burns there, and this will go out in the weeks to come. But as I'm speaking to you today, it's the 12th anniversary of.
It is 12 years. I know.
Universally across football,
yeah,
a man who's respected and loved and missed. So it'd be worthwhile getting your own perspective of playing with under Tommy or with Tommy.
I mean, the guy was the ultimate professional as a footballer, but also the ultimate gentleman as a person. And I think you can see by it's not just Celtic fans that actually like Tommy Burns. The opposite side of the city in Glasgow, the Rangers fans, they're and I see Ali McCoy's talking about him as a good mate, and I'd seen me clips of people who were just privileged to know the guy and privileged to call Tommy Burns their pal, and I think I was at that stage. I mean, he was a teammate of mine, although I was a young boy coming through at Celtic. He didn't. Whether you played in the first team of the reserves or the boys' club, Tommy just wanted to help you and chat with you and do what's best for you, and how does he get you? How does he get the best out of you? And it was just great to be around the guy a lot of the time. Tommy was just one of these guys that would come back for an injury. He wouldn't hang around. He just, was there a game on? Okay, Reserve League West. I'll play in that. So. It was great like that. It was great to have around in the team, and he kind of got on you a lot as well, because he only wanted the best for you. If you weren't putting the work in, whether it was the Reserve League West or the reserves or whatever it was, he'd go on to you and he was hard on you, but at the same time, it was all education when Tommy was concerned. It was brilliant.
Wonderful. And clearly, Tommy, a man just in his DNA was football, but you were to join another man who lived and breathed it as well, John Lambie. It seems like just about every interview I'm going to have with former Thistle players, in one way or another, there's a link with John. But it would be wrong not to ask you about your own experiences and impressions and what made him such a special manager to play under.
I mean, he was such a special manager. I just think he was such a special guy as well. Do you know, immediately, I'm not saying everybody's the same, but I just thought, and initially, I like you. Do you know, I like you. I like what you say. I like your honesty and your straightforwardness. And you know, I think that sometimes your language is a bit choice, John, but you know, I just loved the way his whole enthusiasm. It was all about looking after his players and doing what's best for his players. And see, when you do that, the players just want to give you it back. And you know, everybody wasn't. You know, you're not going to get 100% of people out there that liked his training methods or his tactical methods, whatever it was. But see, as a manager, to me, he was just the best. You know, just you wanted to do your best for John Lambie, and I think that's the one thing that comes over in everybody. You know that, and you know that some can like his tactics, some can like his training methods, some can like the things he says, but I think the one thing that comes over is everybody liked him as an individual and everybody wanted to do their best for him.
Yeah. So what did he, I mean, clearly if you Thistle fans' memories of yourself, first impression would definitely be in your pace. It was just such a big part of your game, but it certainly, you know, not to do a disservice to other parts of your game, you're such a skillful winger, but what did John Lambie see in you that he wanted to bring into the club?
I don't really know. I mean, he had decent players in that team at the time. So I think wingers were slightly different, weren't they? You didn't get too many of them, and you still don't. I was very direct. You know, there's not a lot when I get the ball would ever go backwards. You know, I was always very direct, and I liked that. And John was always like, you know, what's the worst thing that can happen if you take somebody on up the pitch? They take the ball off you. So that's all right because we've got the whole pitch to then defend, you know. So, and then what can happen next? Well, they can tackle you and exit for a throw, and then we'll get a throw and we'll deal with that. So it was like, you know, just go and take them on. Just go and take them on. See if you lose it up there, be man. Just it's fine. Just we'll get it back for you. And I think he was awful like that. You know, don't just pass the ball for the sake of pass. See if you can go and take somebody on. Just go and take them on and go and get crosses into the box. There's an awful one for getting crosses into the box early, and it didn't matter. And it was kind of different to me. I think at Celtic I was always, you get the byline, get the cross in. John just wanted crosses in the box, you know, a lot of the time. You know, to see if you can get by somebody and just knock the ball in the box, just go and do it. You know, so there was lots of things like that, lots of things that just it gave you a lot of confidence in yourself, just to say, go and take them on. See if you lose it, it's fine, we'll deal with it. So I think it was all just confidence in yourself he gave you.
Yeah. And do you remember you obviously there was a pre-season programme, but do you remember your competitive debut for the club?
Competitive debut was at Brockville against Falkirk in a kind of meaty cup tie, and we ended up winning in penalties. I think it was Duff that actually was it Duff that maybe scored the winning penalty. Duff was always a big figure at Brockville in his day. But I remember playing down at Gretna in my first pre-season game. I was breathing at my backside. I don't think I'd done too much pre-season over the last few days before that because I was in talks with John, and then we'd got a wee trip to Stornoway of all places, and then I think we'd gone to Ireland for a while as well, and I was all really just getting to know the boys and getting to know him, and it was somewhat different for me. There was characters in that team, and as John was a character as well, there was a lot of characters in the team. But that's the bit you look forward to is the kind of debut, and it was against Falkirk and Brockville. It was a cracking game. It was a cracking night actually.
It was, and Falkirk away was a bit of a recurring theme this season. We'll talk about another cup tie a bit later, but as it happened, it ended up being your first goal for the Jags as well at Falkirk. Do you remember it?
I do remember it, and I remember The one thing I remember is the ball kind of broke out and I just smashed it at the goal. And I always remember sneaking in front of Colin McGlashan to actually do it. You know, it was coming out and it was coming out in between the twos, and I was just quicker than him. Not a lot of people that weren't quicker than him, right enough. But I was just quicker than him, get on end of it, and he came over and congratulated. He says, "You took that from me." I says, "Don't worry, Dibble." I says, "You'll get a lot more goals than me at the end of this season." And it turned out it wasn't that way actually. I think there was only maybe a difference of one or two in the end between me and Colin McGlashan, and it was maybe that goal that kind of sealed me as the top goal scorer that season. But I remember running to the fans as well and Chick grabbing me, and it was great. It was a great moment. It was always a good moment scoring. You know, it takes a wee bit of pressure off you, doesn't it? Yeah. You know, the fans are looking at this guy. He's only a boy. He's only 20. He's came for Celtic. I hope he's good. You know, and there we go. I've got my first goal. So they might be thinking, well, maybe it's good after all. We'll see what happens the rest of the season.
I think it's fair to say you won the fans over very quickly, and that was a season when we were clearly looking to move up. It'd been a long time in the division. We ended up not quite getting there, but a season of some really big crowds, especially at Firhill. You know, it must have been really good for you stepping out of mainly reserve football and playing in that kind of environment to I suppose learn as a footballer.
Yeah, I mean that was the thing for me, and that was I remember not an argument. I'll call it a discussion with Big Billy, God rest him. The day I signed for Partick Thistle, that's what he said to me: "Going for Celtic to Partick Thistle?" I said, "No, listen." I said, "Big man, I've gone for Celtic reserves to Partick Thistle first team." That's the way I'm looking at it. And I remember him putting his arm around my shoulder and giving me a big hug and just saying, "You're quite right. You're the best," you know. But I mean, that's what it was for me. It was going for Celtic reserves to Partick Thistle first team. So it was a step up, and it was a decent season. I always just remember that we always seemed to be a few games behind, and we could never kind of close the gap because of games played. Mm-hmm. You know, so I don't remember whether that was the Firhill pitch that was rotten, or I don't remember whether it was with a few, but I remember always playing that catch up in games, and sometimes that's difficult even when you think, well, we're kind of 4 points behind but with 2 games in hand. It's not the same, is it? Points in the bag's a lot better. So we're always playing catch up, and we just never quite got there.
Aye. I think I had a look at the results again. I was sorry about this. I was only 12-year-old at the time, but I did notice our away form did seem to be a lot better than the home form. I don't know if that was through postponement, so maybe the counter-attacking style that came with a winger was more conducive to playing away and hitting teams on the break. I don't know, but I do remember.
I know, maybe it was that Firhill pitch. I remember it not being the greatest at that time, and it's totally 100% changed now. It's a tremendous pitch now, but I remember that in those days it was really, really sandy and bare. So I don't know, maybe that was some bearing on it as well, going and get a wee bit of grass to play when you went away. Although I'm not saying that Brockville was the best of places or any other places were great, you know, but I don't know, who knows the reasons. Just like you say, maybe there was a wee bit of counter-attacking football we could play, but I don't think John Lambie was the type of player that type of manager that you say, right, at home we're playing this way, away we're playing that way. I was never told any different to sit in a bit more or anything like that. So let's blame the Firhill pitch then.
Will do. Well, the few highlights that season: hat-trick against Forfar, that would have been your first professional hat-trick, of course.
Absolutely, and very memorable, brilliant. And I don't know who took the photographs. I let them, some clever photographer who happened to be on the ball at the time, but I don't know if it was Tommy. But
let's give Tommy the credit.
Let's give him the credit. Get 3 good photographs of that, and that was a great day. And unfortunately, I couldn't enjoy my hat trick that much at the time when I scored it, because I don't know if you remember that they pulled one back about a minute later. So it was the start of the second half. I'd scored my hat trick only about 2-3 minutes into the second half, and here we go, celebrate your hat trick. But no, bang, they've pulled it back to 3-2. So it kind of died a death for a wee while. But you know, we were lucky enough to get the win. It's always nice. It's always nice to get the win when you get a hat trick, isn't it? It's not the same when you're scoring a hat trick and getting beat or drawn. But when you got that, we got that 3-2 win. Even with the 3-2, you know, sometimes you're as well getting the 3-2 than the 4-2 when you've scored a hat trick, because you think it's all about you, don't you?
That's true.
No, that was great.
Did you get the match ball? Can you remember?
Off Partick Thistle, you kidding me on? I think they were counted.
Probably up in Alan Ross Street somewhere. So we're gunning for promotion, kind of chipping away in that kind of third, fourth spot for much of the season, with some cracking wins. I remember, I think, at Douglas Park and at Rugby Park, you know, we were playing really well, especially away from home. Big noisy Thistle support. One night we took a huge support, was away back to Brockville for the Scottish Cup tie. And for all we were on the wrong end of it that night, for me as a young fan, going to the likes of Broomfield and Brockville under the floodlights, big supports, they were just absolutely fabulous nights to be a Thistle fan.
And like you say, it wasn't a great ending to that night, was it? But I just remember the crowd that night. It was absolutely jam-packed. It was mobbed. And, you know, when you got under the lights at Brockville, you know, Brockville's a really, really, you know, it's tightly packed. You're not be able to take a throw in or a corner or even play on the wing without having a fan being able to touch it. Yeah. But I remember that night it was great. I remember getting Bobby Law sent off, didn't we, early on? I can't even remember what that was for. It probably annoyed Simon Stainrod. Probably Simon was annoying him at the same time. But I remember getting Bobby sent off quite, I think it was his first half at some point, and into half time, and John just says to me, "You play the left yourself, it's fine." just play left back and play left wing. So I was to say we were gutted at the end of that. I'm not even too sure if I think Duff was playing the midfield as well that night.
One of those nights everyone changes.
I think Duff was playing midfield. So I'm not too sure if Chick was there. I can't remember, but it was disappointing at the end of it. But to go with 10 men against Falkirk and give as good as we got, it was some game. It was some night.
It was. Goals aplenty. We were to beat Wraith Rovers 5-1 away in the league, and then in April in particular, you hit a real purple patch, 5 goals in 6 games. You must have been delighted with the way that your first full season went.
100%. Do you know, and it was enjoyable. You know, it was really, really enjoyable. Every game, you'd look forward to training. You'd look forward to coming into your work and into the dressing room with the characters that were in it. The pattern was brilliant. It was a thoroughly enjoyable season, and it was just one. I was only there like 10 or 11 months or something. Yeah. So, you know, it was just. See, when you get a couple of goals, your confidence grows. You just want to score more and more goals, and you know, I was lucky enough to go, like you say, have a kind of good March, April, whenever it was, and getting 5 or 6 goals in that wee spell. Yeah.
And in the end, we fell just short, finished 4th, but player of the season for you for the club, you must have swept the board, and I think you were in the team of the year for the league. And
well, you're saying swept the board. Do you know what? Duff was absolutely fantastic that season as well. And I do remember going to the Player of the Year awards, and you know, it was, to be fair, it was kind of half and half. And Duff was outstanding. The Players' Player of the Year, they voted for me, but Duff was outstanding as well. He was great, and he was a great guy to have in your team, not just for on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. And I learnt a lot from Jim Duffy. I was good mates with Jim, actually, for 2 guys that were kind of opposite end of the age spectrum at Thistle. And I was a young guy, I was like 20 when I signed there. So, and Duff was obviously, he'd been in management, and he was kind of, I don't know, maybe 30, early 30s. The two has really hit it off as good pals here, and I learnt a lot from Duff.
Yeah. Younger fans watching this will know him as he's Dumbarton manager now. He's taken on a lot of managerial roles, but for a centre half or sweeper who also played midfield occasionally, a terrific footballer.
Absolutely brilliant and hard as nails. And I was lucky enough to have him, my manager at Hibs. He signed me for Hibs as well. But I've never really spoken to Duff about it. But I did find that change of status, you know, being one of my good mates at Thistle to then be my manager at Easter Road was kind of difficult for me. He was a bigger guy than me. He'd have probably just taken that in his stride, but I was kind of, I found that difficult. But as he says, what a player to have in your team, what a professional. You know, I think he was told to chuck it at one point as well, and he's it's fine, I'm all right. You might suffer for this later on in life. I'll deal with that later on in life, you know. And it's some man.
Yeah, I think when we look back over centre half partnerships at Firhill, Duffy and Big Gordon Ray's one that people always smile about. Just a nice contrast of styles that fitted together perfectly. So that was to serve as well. Yeah, and I think back to you, the thinking of your career at Thistle, it feels like you were there longer. You've just summed up 10, 11 months, and the only regret, I guess, for a Thistle fan again was that you moved on so quickly. How did leaving Thistle come about?
I think it was one of those offers I couldn't refuse, and I think it was. I think as a club as well, I think it was an offer that they couldn't refuse either at the time, and. You know, I'd known Davy Hay from my spell at Celtic Park as well, and you know, they'd finished bottom of the league. Remember, it was reconstruction as well, and they only survived through reconstruction. I'd gone to St Mirren, and me and Chick had obviously gone as well, and hoping to build it. I think Davy was hoping to build a team there, but it didn't really work. Initially at St Mirren, it didn't initially. It was tough, but I must admit I thoroughly enjoyed my time there as well. It was great. It's a great club. It's very like Thistle actually. You know, it's a family. It's a family club. It's one of these clubs that you go and you fall in love with. You know, even though, I mean, I'm a Celtic fan and I was brought up Celtic fan, but you go and sign for Partick Thistle. It's one of these clubs you fall in love with. St Mirren's exactly the same as that. You're exactly the same, and I loved my time there. But it wasn't easy. Leaving Thistle, and funny enough, in the days of agents or early on in agents, there was a guy that came when I signed for Thistle, and I can't even remember who it was. But I remember John saying to me, "Have you got an agent for this move?" And I said, "No." He went, "Don't worry about it. I'll be your agent." And I said, "Sure?" And he went, "Aye, just give me a bottle of whiskey, I'll do." So, so I remember Davy Hay bringing me in, and it was in the boardroom at Firhill, and John came in with me, and Davy Hay had to kind of take a second look as if to say, "What you want your manager in for? You know, this, you're moving to my club, so you're not going to talk you out going there." But you know, John was very fair like that. You know, he was fair like that. He saw what was best for probably one for me, and then two for the club. And he had no hesitation in just sitting by me and just making sure everything was in order. And at the same time, I had no hesitation with him sitting there because I knew they'd do what's best for me. And I think that kind of, for me, sums him up.
Yeah. And I'm trying a funny period for Thistle and St Mirren, because we were almost very similar clubs, but we never really fell into the same league at the same time. I'm trying to remember if you ever came back and played.
No, I went to St Mirren and they went down, and when I left Thistle, they went up. You know, so, they kind of crossed over a lot at that time.
Yeah.
I played against Thistle with Falkirk. I remember doing that. It's never easy. It's never easy playing against a club that you kind of fall in love with.
But you did make a return almost a decade later when you came back under John, just as he was rebuilding the club down in the third tier. Again, what was it just John that made you come back?
Well, I did. I don't know if you remember, I joined at Falkirk as well. When I went to Falkirk, he is in charge of Falkirk, and I was one of his first signings there as well. To answer that question, yes or no, yes, it was just John that made me want to come back. It was him that was on the phone to me all the time, just saying, just sign it. I'd just been released for Hibs at the time. It was a tough time for me, actually. I had a lot of injuries. I'd never been injured before in my career, never. And even that first spell at Thistle, I'd never missed a game through an injury. I think I missed a couple through suspension because I shouted too much at the referees at the time. But I never missed a game through injury in most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And at Hibs, I found that really, really tough. I tore my calf muscle at Hibs, and I found it tough missing games through injuries. And I only managed about 20 games in 2 and a bit seasons there. And for me, getting game, it made me better, it made me fitter, it made me more confident. But when you kind of had a game here and a game there, a game with reserves, and injured again for another 4 weeks, now 6 weeks, it was really difficult. And I kind of get a wee bit disillusioned for that summer. And John said to me, I just was talking going to Ireland or something like that. And John went, "Don't be stupid. Just come and sign for us. You can sign on a monthly basis, whatever it was, and see how it goes." And even when he signed, they went, "Hello," he says, you need to look forward. You need to look further forward here. You need to get yourself a job." And I said, "Well, I actually think that applying to the police." And they went, quite right, because I wouldn't have taken you here if I didn't think you were going to do that. So it was always one for, just make sure that you've got yourself something.
Mm-hmm.
And I says, because it's not going to last forever. He was clever like that, and he was decent enough to actually say it to you, and that was the way he felt. And it wasn't like, "Oh no, you're playing for me, and you're playing for me, and you're not going to look for another job." It was make sure you're getting yourself sorted out for what's going to happen next. And I enjoyed that wee spell. It was difficult because you were playing like second division. It was the third tier, and it was he was just trying to build something to get himself back up there, and he did, didn't he? He did. But it was absolutely.
It'd been a different club you came back to, because at the other end of the decade we'd been up to the top, 4 years there, 2 relegations. Jackie Husband's stand, of course, was in place, which wasn't there when you first played. So, how did it feel at a different stadium?
No, do you know, it's not really, because like I say, it's once you go to Thistle, you fall in love with it. So what you find is that all the same people, the same people are there. And I mean, for the people that are opening up the stadiums, to people that are cutting the grass, to just people that are around all the time at Firhill, they're still there. Robert Reid. So I mean, Robert Reid has been there for about 300 years. So and he was there, and it was just the same group of people, same group of fans. It's a tight bunch of fans, and they want to keep their call. They call you Ello, and you know what I mean. That's just the way it was. But to me, it was just exactly the same club. It was just the stadium was very, very quiet. You'd obviously that new big stand. It was very quiet, and it was kind of surreal circumstances. But again, it's football, and you just want to do your best. And like I say, for John, I just wanted to do my best, and if I could help. And I was still only 29 at the time, so it wasn't like an old guy. You still wanted to just do your best in whatever way, shape or form you could help the club out, then I would.
And clearly at that moment you knew what you wanted to do going forward. So that was Thistle your last. Did you play much football after Thistle?
Absolutely none.
None?
No, absolutely none. No, that was it. So I'd left Thistle in the December of 1999 and joined the police in January 2000.
Right.
Yeah. And unknown to John and Jerry at the time, well, I joined the prison service actually for in the September, and I was so it was a kind of part-time contract with Thistle, and I was coming off night shifts and playing. I was scared to tell him that I was doing that. So just coming off a night shift and going to the game, but fear to say to John that I've just done a night shift, because I didn't know the reaction. The reaction would be, "Aye, mate," or, "Oh well, you're not playing then." So I just didn't bother telling them.
But twice you played with the club, right on the cusp of success. So 1991 we went up the next season, 99-2000 we went up the next season. So Any chance we could get you a contract for the season just passed? Hopefully it's a sign.
Hopefully.
Do you get back much to Firhill?
Not in a while. Well, I'm saying not in a while, but no last season actually. A good mate of mine's a season ticket holder, and sometimes go in with him.
But you're clearly you're busy in football, I know.
I'm really busy in football, and most of my time spent by going to watch youth football or taking youth football now. I'm at St Mirren Youth Academy, so one of the games either on a Saturday or a Sunday. So I think this season it's kind of changed to a Saturday. So I've not been getting to football as much. And then even when it was last season, it was a Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. I tend to go and watch kids football now. Do you know, just the Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon, go and watch kids football. Enjoy doing that. But yeah, if I'm going anywhere, I'd go to Firhill or Love Street. I'm saying Love Street. Love Street's not even there anymore. I'd go to Firhill or St Mirren Park and go and watch them.
Yeah. And you've kept in touch with plenty. Obviously, Andy's the obvious one, but we'll talk about your Thistle 11 in a second. But you retain many friends at Thistle and Firhill, and you know a lot of the supporters obviously as well. Yeah,
Chick. I mean, me and Chick were chalk and cheese, you know, but we got on great. And I'd obviously been at Thistle with Chick, and then we went to St Mirren together, and then when I was at Hibs, he came to Hibs as well. So there was a lot of time spent in car journeys with Chick, which just brilliant memories. Some I couldn't tell you about, but just brilliant pattern and brilliant times. He's some guy, and he's one of my favourite guys.
A hell of a player.
Absolutely.
I wonder if you might have a little chance of getting in this team. So I've asked you, like we've asked everyone we've interviewed so far, to give us your Thistle 11, which must be made up of players you played with during your 2 spells at the club. Just to squeeze another player in there, you leave yourself out. So you're the manager, so I'll hand over to you to talk us through your choices.
Well, leaving myself out wasn't easy, and I'm saying it wasn't easy. Not for a raving about myself point of view, but see when you were only at a club for a season, you played kind of 99% of the games. I'm thinking, well, who else played there? So I've done a wee bit of jiggery pokery with the team and try to fit in a few players. So my goalie's going to be Andy Murdoch.
Right.
Andy was at Celtic with me as well. And Andy's a really, really good goalie, and it's a shame that he kind of never really got to the heights that I'd maybe expect Andy to get to. He was very well educated at Celtic Park with Big Packy and Peter Latchford were there at the time as well as coaches. So he had a kind of good upbringing in the game, and it was good to see him coming to Thistle as well. Came with a guy called Paul McLaughlin. Sorry, Paul, I'm just mentioning him, but he never made it into my team. I'd fling his name in anyway. I'll get you on a bench, Glock. My right back would have been Graham Robertson. Graham was a fantastic football player. Defensively, maybe a bit suspect at times, but you know, he was really he kept possession of the ball really well and liked to play really well with the midfield. So I'd have Robbo in there definitely. As you talked about before, centre defence partnership. I'm going to have Duff and Big Gordon Ray, but also I mentioned for Grant Tierney as well, because Big Grant, you know, he did well in there, but I'd need to go with Duff and Gordon Ray. Great and solid as a rock. The two of them, you toughen your team every week. And left back, I'm going to go for probably, I think he's maybe the only guy I've got at my second spell, but Archie. So Alan Archibald's going to fire in there at left back, and
brings the average age down.
But it does, and could have had Desi McEwen in there maybe at left back. Aye, maybe, but I'd probably go for Archie in there.
Good.
Midfield, again, I kind of thought about kind of mixing up the midfield and putting Duff in there and getting Des again in my favourite 11, but I thought, it was too good too good to resist stuff in Gordon Ray as a centre half. So midfield, I've put in Peebles in there, Gary Peebles.
Yep.
Just for a wee bit of strength and just to go and win challenges in there for the rest of us to play. And in there with him, I've got Chick. He kind of left mid, but I just go and tell him to do what he wanted to do. Go and play what you want to play at the end of the day. I will go for a 4-4-2. It's my two wingers I'm going to go for in my position. I'll put Bucky in, John Buckley.
Yep.
He mostly played in the right with me, but if I can fit in Sammy Johnson in the right, it gets Sammy in my team as well. I loved Sammy as a player and as a guy. There was the end of season trip to Magaluf. After that season, Sammy was my roommate, so he was a lovely guy. So it's nice to get Sammy in there as well, and I can get Bucky in there as a number 11 wide left. And then my two front. Sorry,
has he got something on you from that trip that you need?
No, he's absolutely not. I've got more than him. So make sure if you're doing it with him, I'm in his team. If I'm not, I'll come looking for him, or I can tell you a story after that. So my two front guys be John Flood and Colin McGlashan. Floody was nippy wee annoying player to play against. I remember playing against him as well, but he was one of these guys you describe as a pest in a good way, and had an eye for goal too. And Colin McGlashan, we double could see for a wee guy that wasn't the most mobile in the world. You know, he could at the ball at his feet, his touch was brilliant, his layoffs were brilliant, and he was great at bringing wingers into play. You know, he could hold the ball up, and you could make a run, start making the run in behind early because you knew he was keeping it and he was playing you in. So that's my team. And as I say, a wee mention for Grant Tierney and Desi McEwen maybe make my bench, but it would be a decent team, hard to beat. And as I say, if we just been there this season, it was a kind of difficult one to pick, but I hope that's a good enough win for the Thistle fans.
That's a very strong Thistle team. A lot of players who served the club well there. I need to just finish by asking you about Chick, because you played with him for a long time. Everyone knows just how talented he was, but you got to see that up as close as anyone. You know, what was he like to play with? Because he probably worked a bit harder than people appreciated, but what... or did he?
I mean, listen.
And where could he have got to if maybe he'd been guided better in his early days?
I mean, I don't know. It's a difficult one. I mean, he did well for himself. So, could he have done better? Aye, yeah. Could I have done better? Yes. You know, so you can always ask these questions of people, but Chick loved his football. Chick just wanted to play football. Chick was a very, very fit guy, and I don't know if a lot of people appreciate how fit he was. He was a fit guy. He could run all day. He had a brilliant left foot, don't get me wrong, but he had two good feet as well. But I mean, Chick is just a brilliant human being. Chick is just a brilliant person, and you know, just spending time in his company, I was probably luckier than most, where, you know, I car shared with him to Edinburgh for 2 years. I had to pick him up when I went to St Mirren for however long he was there, 2 years. And I could tell you a few Monday morning stories. Just to go and pick him up on a Monday morning, and it was days before mobile phones, where I'd either go and they stayed in Petershill Road at the time in the top flat, and I'd have to drive up and usually be standing at the window just waiting, and sometimes on Monday morning he wasn't at the window waiting. Sometimes he'd be hanging out the window just going, no this morning. But Chick was just a brilliant guy and a brilliant football player, and he just wanted to play football at any level. I mean, at any level, he'd just go and play football at any level. And it was, you know, I'm like we were talking about Tommy Burns before. I'm proud to say Chick's my mate, and proud that I've played 3 different clubs with him.
Absolutely. And you throw all those characters in the one. Most of them played at the one time in the one dressing room. It must have been quite a place for a 20-year-old to be.
I know, but that kind of sums up John Lambie for you, I suppose. That all these people, when you say characters like Duff, Duff is a funny guy. Gordon Ray, Daisy, Chick, Mental Case, even wee Floody was just in there and annoying people. When Big Grant Tierney I think Big Grant was a big polite guy. I don't think he knew about him half the time with some of the things that went on. But like you say, and I remember playing John's testimonial against Rangers at Firhill, and so it was some of the guys that I hadn't played with, but I was aware of that had played with John. Guys like Stevie Pittman, just they were all mental,
Aye.
Absolutely mental. Denny. I mean, just crazy, but brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant.
Superb, and that's what makes the memories so special for you, I guess. So
absolutely.
All I can say is thank you very much for joining us today. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Cracking.
Very welcome.
And some great memories.
It's good to chat about all these things.
As I said, despite the fact you didn't play quite as long at the club as people probably like to remember, you're very, very fondly thought of. It was a cracking season, and from there we enjoyed some of the best years of our recent history. Yeah. So on behalf of all Thistle fans, thank you very much for all the work you're doing as well. And I'm sure you want to just say a wee message to the Thistle fans before you sign off.
Listen, it's been a tough season for them, and it's been a tough end of season for them. But listen, the club has been in a lower place than they are now, and they've always got there. And it's the support that's dragged them through before, and it's the support that'll get them through this as well. And I was reading a wee bit a couple of weeks ago, it was Big Jerry about the season tickets as well and refunds and all that. I mean, that just sums up the Partick Thistle fans. We don't want a refund, we just want the money coming back into the club. You got another season lower, where we're getting relegated in the lower division, give me a season ticket, because I'm going to go and watch this one. That just sums them up, and they'll get up there again, don't worry about that. And takes us it's a great support they've got there, and the support are thick and thin, they're there, and it's the support that will drag them through it again.
Here. Thanks, David, and hopefully when we do get back to football, we can see it for Firhill before long as well. Absolutely. It's great chatting. You too. Thank you very much, David. Cheers. Cheers.